Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Happy St. Patrick's Day if you're watching today, the 17th of March. Today I'm wrapping up my series about everything wrong with Almost Lost by the late fraud Beatrice Sparks. This is roughly 25 more things wrong with it, going up to 100, number 170. I am so freaking relieved, happy, glad I am finally done choking down this absolute garbage bottom of the barrel book. It is the worst Beatrice Sparks book I have ever read. Now, I have not yet read, I believe, from 1977 thereabouts. I have not yet read her book, Voices, which many people say is pretty rock bottom as well. But, of everything I have read thus far, this takes the cake. It is bad, bad, bad. And it's not just the bad, writing and ridiculous scenarios this time. Of course, that's a part of the reason I hate it as well, but the main reason I hate this, she's demonstrating her complete ignorance of psychology loud and clear. And I was enraged to read the last 50, 40, whatever pages or so when she's actually, I cannot believe this. She's justifying, child abuse with the character of Lance. So let's just start getting down with it. This is based off of a blog post which will be going live on the 19th of March 2025. So if you watch it before then, consider this a sneak preview. So let's just start ripping it apart again. It's absolutely mind-blowing how Beatrice Sparks got away with pretending to be a psychologist for teens, no less. What? When her 1996 book, with herself as a main character, oh, that's not an egotistical self-insert at all, Working Mental Health Miracles, displays such a profound lack of knowledge about everything psychological, not to mention teenage cognitive development or just reality, anything. The pre-modern magical thinking she promotes should have warranted an investigation into her alleged psych practice and credentials. But no, Avon Books had to keep rolling out these crappy after-school specials in book format so the kids could learn very special lessons. And I have a fairly recent video about how in the world this crank got and kept a publishing contract in the late 90s, early 2000s when every normal standard should have said this isn't good writing and this isn't realistic at all what's going on here. But for the pre-internet era and back in the day, many people, for better or worse, they just felt, oh, teenagers, they don't particularly need sophisticated books or relatable characters and situations. They need to learn hard-hitting lessons about good special topics like teen pregnancy and abusive relationships and drugs. Thank God that has all finally started to change, but let's just get down with it now. 146. If Lance has made so much bank from Silicon Valley, which he brags about, why in blazes is he living in a building with a fire escape after the divorce? He later says it's a condo, and Sammy mentions going upstairs, so it's, at least 2 stories of a condo. I'm trying to picture what exactly, where is he, living? Is this supposed to be a townhouse, just a swanky condo with 2-3 stories? What? She never had details when they really matter. That's not exactly a feature associated with high-class homes. Seriously, I mean, for a long time, I just thought, oh, a fire escape, that's normal when you have many stories of a building. I just didn't realize until fairly recently, maybe even 5 or so years ago, oh, that's, I mean, yeah, they have outdoor staircases in some really swanky apartments and, houses, but fire escape, you typically associate that with a tenement building, not something that's a rich person is going to be living in. 147. Why does Sammy say he was stoned out of my box when he dropped Lance's box of cocaine and spilled it all over the carpet while starting to put a line down the coffee table? This one thing isn't like the other. Are we supposed to infer Sammy snorted it from the carpet or what was on the table? Again, Dr. Fraud failed to include important details. Sammy never mentions, oh, I was so desperate, I was out of my mind, crazy, whatever, didn't know what I was doing. I just snorted from off of the carpet, that big pile of white powder, the little stuff on the table. I snorted that. Again, she did not know how to write convincingly at all. 148. No one in the real world breaks down sobbing, spilling his guts, and begging for a second chance and forgiveness at the very first therapy session, and like almost as soon as he walks in the door, no less. You know Dr. Fraud rushed along the Lance storyline so she could wrap up the book quickly. This was not someone who she didn't know how to develop actual characters and storylines. It's just bang, bang, bang. Let's just dump it all on the page. Oh, we decided we'll just forget about that situation and move on with our lives. Oh, why would I want to pursue therapy when I could just pretend I was never SA'd and I need to be Pollyanna? Just drop everything that's important and just like only focus on the very special issue. 149. While Sammy and his parents are bawling and cuddling, oh, that scene made me cringe. I rolled up the wazoo. Sammy apologizes for calling Lance a child abuser and says he exaggerated the beating. I was like livid from this point on. Nice gaslighting and child abuse apologetics, Dr. Fraud. 150. It enrages me that Dr. Fraud depicts immediate forgiveness of someone who's hurt and betrayed his family so deeply as totally normal and laudatory. Yeah, what could go wrong there? Way to encourage going back to an abuser who hasn't done a damn thing to prove he's definitively changed and is totally remorseful. Like, you can't just say, oh, I'm so sorry I hurt you guys. I'm going to make an effort to be better. I mean, of course, that's a good first step. Like, good on you for admitting you were in the wrong and you, like, at least claim you're committed to changing and doing much healthier behavior and choices going forward. But that it doesn't magically erase the past. You don't get over it in just a couple of weeks because, oh, Daddy says he's changing now. Oh, I guess he'll never hurt us again. I just trust him at his word. We're good little Molly Mormons and a good little Peter priesthood. Number 151. Deep-seated, long-running, profoundly serious issues cannot be resolved and healed in less than an hour. Wow, I was just rolling my eyes so hard at that. This is textbook Mormon magical thinking and one of many reasons I am not a fan of this cult. Sorry, not sorry. 152. I cringed so hard at how Sammy and Paula drawl out the words think and if as they're leaving the office and think they're being funny. This is like the 11th visit. They're all like, oh, I hope, they're trying to like imitate what Dr. Fraud says by like drawing out the words. Yeah, here it is. As they were leaving, Paula looked at me quizzically. Do you think we need to come back again to sort of solidify things? Yeah, who cares about further therapy sessions? Like, one is just good enough for us. Lance says he's changing. Oh, well, that solves everything. Sammy laughed loudly. The stupid adjectives. I know what she's going to say. He closed his eyes tightly, wrinkled his forehead deeply, put his index fingers to his temples, and made a high, screeching, eerie sound. That's creepy. I think you should if you think you should. That's stupid. We laughed together. Smart aleck kid. He reads my mind. Call me after you've checked your calendars. As they walked out, Sammy was saying, Mommykins, can Daddykins have dinner with us? Paula giggled. These people are always giggling. I think he should if he thinks he should. That's as teeth-gratingly annoying as this stupid trend of the under 30 set like, drawling out letters, which I've ranted about when they're writing like, OMG, I love it. Do you think that makes you look funny or cute? It makes you look dumbass. 153. The gaslighting is complete when Sammy tells Dr. Fraud, I can't believe I told you so many unforgivable lies about him, Lance. Lies, 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 all of them. Then says, I deserved it. All of it. So, like, which is it? Were you lying or did you deserve to be hit? Nice job depicting abused children as liars and simultaneously saying they deserve abuse for not being good little Peter priesthoods and Molly Mormons. Like, wow, if I hated this woman already, but wow, this book made me hate her even more, particularly the last, whatever, like, third or the last quarter, whatever. Oh, wow, this, I didn't even think I could hate her more than I already did. 154. Whoever greenlighted this crap for publication not only failed to confront Mrs. Sparks about her ignorance of psychology, but also failed to correct typos and missing punctuation on a few pages. I mean, I know that happens to, like, the best of us, even when we've had, like, 10 editing go-throughs. Sometimes your eyes just become, like, blind to the same text you've read over and over again, and so you just through no fault of your own. I mean, it happens like more than we would like to admit. We just like, overlook a typo because it just blends in with the rest of the words, and we've seen it so many times. And then, it's obvious when I actually see the printed copy. Oh, wow, my bad. Or when the newspaper goes to print. But that's why you should have like multiple sets of eyes. And sometimes it's really good to change the typeface. Some people even change the color of the manuscript so it becomes more obvious to spot typos that you're coming like blind to. For example, Dana says Sammy treated her and Dory, what an old lady name for a 90s girl, like we were angles after he got home. She was obviously trying to say angels, and there's a couple of other stupid typos here and there. 155. Nice job giving 13-year-old Dory the same adult level of self-reflection and mental maturity as Sammy. This old crank knew jack about cognitive development. And actually, I thought this was talking about the 10-year-old at first, which, okay, 13, maybe that's a little bit different, but not that much different. It's like really stupid. Like, oh, when mommy tells me to clean my room and I don't do it, I feel like mommy is calling me stupid and lazy, but maybe that means I really am, stupid and lazy. It's just like, this whole like family therapy thing. This isn't how real like people act. Oh, here it is. Oh, are we using the timer? No. Dory, well, when mommy gets mad at me for not cleaning my room or doing my jobs around the house or something, I sometimes feel she's calling me lazy and dumb and stuff. But then if I go in my room and clean and cry or just think about it, I know she's just trying to get me to do what I should be doing without her having to nag, said every 13-year-old ever. And I guess it's more like I'm calling myself lazy and stupid because I feel that's what I am. Could you be trying to blame her for your problem? Yeah, in a way, I guess. What might you do the next time something like that happens? Maybe like try a little harder to remember exactly what she really did say? Do you think listening therapy could help all our lives? Everyone answered quietly and thoughtfully with, yeah, could be. I'm sure. Like, these no, none of the people in her books talk like actual like real people, like particularly the teenagers, like even in the early 20s, she did not understand a cognitive development at all. 156. Dr. Fraud continues the hyperbolic, lurid extremes. When Paula says Dory's elementary school is full of drugs, filthy language, again failing to define what exactly she considered filthy, drinking, and rapes. Where the hell are these people supposed to be living? Like, what city in Utah is this normal, or was that considered normal in the 90s? Like, I mean, we know they're like in Utah because that's where she was like living at the time. And Lance, I'll get to this later, mentions like traveling back and forth from California, so they're obviously not in California. 157. Until Paula says Dana is 10 years old near the end of the book. I thought Dana was the 13-year-old and Dory the 10-year-old, since they're always named together as Dana and Dory. Like, usually the older child comes first when you're like talking about your kids. You don't put the younger one first. Like, wow, like again, like she failed to provide the most important details until like after the fact. 158. Why does Dana still believe in Santa at 10 years old? What? Most well-adjusted kids figure it out by 8, like particularly when she's had such a tough life. Usually the kids who believe in Santa way past like 8 years, 10 years old, they're like extremely like, sheltered and like coddled, or like unfortunately just in their chronological age does not match their mental age. 159. Deliberately hiding a parent's past drug abuse from children is setting them up for a world of shock, hurt, and betrayal when they inevitably find out from someone else, and in a way the parents like have no control over. Telling them the truth doesn't have to be lurid, graphic, and sensationalistic. Imagine that. It's like being upfront about adoption or any other like life-altering important like thing in the family from an early age. Honesty is the best policy, and it's going to be worse when they like find out later. For example, like, we've all heard the stories, or maybe even if like you're adopted yourself, you like know this from personal experience. Like, wow, like how did you not tell me? Why would you not, tell me I'm adopted, or like I'm really technically like only the blood child of one of yous guys. Like I was, adopted, and you like divorced someone or had a different relationship way before I could remember. I like, what else have you been like lying to me about? And just it's just setting them up for like a world of shock. Oh, why would I want to? And like Lance is talking about, oh, why would I want to go back and wallow in that garbage? I've dumped all that fetid, gagging garbage in the past. I'm not going to be like a pig in slop, wallowing in it, wallowing in it, wallowing in it. Like she uses this expression over and over in her books. It's just wow, a total lack of understanding of everything. 160. Depicting Sammy as lying about how badly Lance abused him gives credence to people who deny all child abuse and think children are always automatically lying when they say an adult beat or molested them. Oh, why not go back to the 1950s with that attitude? The morgue has an ugly history of sweeping accusations of child abuse under the rug and protecting the abusers, particularly sorry, not sorry, when it comes from their Boy Scouting program and their like bishops and their temples. 161. I'm shocked Dr. Fraud depicts Lance as easily quitting cocaine cold turkey on his own volition and apparently without any real drug therapy that's mentioned, instead of constantly being drawn back into the world of drugs and spiraling towards an early grave. That was her like typical MO with all other drug abuse in her books. 162. What could go wrong with letting an absent, abusive, recently drug addicted father spend a few hours alone with a 10-year-old girl so I can let you know how eternally priceless you are and always have been to me? Like, wow. It's like, again, like total lack of understanding of like psychology. Why would you like trust that person who was so recently estranged from you, but right back into your lives and alone with your children? You need some like time chaperone to prove you've really been like changing. Like, oh wow. I'm just totally lost for words at everything about this book. Number 163. This is nasty. Sammy loves when his dog drools on him in bed when they're sharing a pillow. Gross. Shades of Kim and Kim empty inside, getting off on wiping drool off of red flag Lawrence's mouth when he's obnoxiously snoring and with his head on her lap when they're in the car. Like, was she confessing something about herself? Like, there's so many things in her books. Like, a lot of her female characters, they make purring, meowing noises when they're turned on, when they're getting back rubs on dates, because as we all know, teenagers getting sexy in the 90s, they love to give back rubs instead of doing like other kinds of touching, and so many other like weird confessions about herself, I suspect. 164. Dr. Fraud didn't know the real definition of mental health, and I'll get into this much further in my upcoming video, or probably videos about her lack of understanding of psychology. Over and over, she demonstrates zero understanding of mental disorders and how they're caused by brain wiring gone wrong. Like sometimes from birth, or sometimes like along the way, it's just like a trauma or something just triggers you into, for example, like, cyclical depression or like dissociative identity disorder, like the real kind, not the sorry, not sorry, like kind being faked for likes and clicks on like TikTok by a bunch of teenagers. Oh, meet all my alters on command. She acts like mental health is just a positive outlook, an unnaturally happy, clappy attitude. Wow. Again, ignorance. 165. If the family prides themselves on being so well bred and we're a nice, moral, clean, wholesome family, nothing like those icky poor people living on the streets and doing drugs. Ew. I guess that's Dr. Fraud's attitude, of course, not mine. Why in the world are Sammy and the girls attending such dangerous schools in such an apparently like crime-ridden city? Lance mentions traveling from California to see them. That's like 11 hours or so if he's driving from California to Utah, or maybe he's like taking a plane with all that Silicon Valley Bank. So it's obvious they're in Dr. Fraud's Utah. Since when are Utah schools known as cesspools of crime and delinquency? In the heart of the Mordor? Like, wow, what city exactly was she trying to depict them as being from? I just looked it up. Apparently, Logan has the highest crime rate of all Utah cities currently. Like, maybe it's been that way since the 90s. That's what she was thinking. And I guess Salt Lake has a lot of crime too. But I really want to know her thought process. Like, where exactly did she want us to think these people were living? 166. Dr. Fraud, oh so unprofessionally, accepts Sammy's invitation to attend a welcome home party for Paula and Lance when they get back from their honeymoon after getting remarried. Like, there are so many things I could say about that. Like, oh, we'll just get remarried at the drop of a hat. We've barely begun getting back together. Like, we'll just trust you've changed, Lan. So, and even though only 6% of divorced couples eventually remarry, oh, we're special. We're the magical exception. We'll beat the odds. And of course, mommies and daddies should always stay together. Divorce is wrong. We need to be together. Families are forever. We want to be sealed for all time and eternity on our own little planet in this celestial kingdom when we go to Kolob. And oh, I'm the so professional Dr. B. I'm going to like attend a client's party at their house. You know, that's like the height of professionalism. Like, wow, this so many things about this book should have warranted like more questions about her. 167. Who the hell refers to her lunch as a sack lunch? Normal people would just say they're eating their lunch. Like she, all these like, words and like elaborate phrasings she used. It's just normal people when they're talking casually off the cuff, or even if they're just writing, they just say, "Oh, I'm having a lunch," instead of like, "Oh, my paper brown bag wrapped lunch." Some stupidity. 168. Dr. Fraud never missed a chance to info dump as many "the more you know" PSAs as possible, like when she tells Sammy the details of biofeedback machines and Prozac. Like, and I mentioned the Prozac thing in an earlier video. Like a normal psychologist, if this were actually a real case study, she would just say, "Okay, I'll go to my file cabinet, Sammy. Oh, here's an informational insert about Prozac if you want to learn more," instead of just dumping it all on the page. She, like the last few pages of the book, when she's on the phone with Sammy, yet another recorded phone call, like she's talking in elaborate detail about exactly what biofeedback is and how the machine works. So, wow, that sounds far out, Dr. B. I think everyone should have them in their house and in their schools. It would be so much better. No one would ever be lost and want to blow out their precious little candle if they had biofeedback to let them know when their the negative power of negative thinking was taking over. Then we would all have a pause too. Wow, just like info dump city, seriously. So number 169. Dr. Fraud shows her classism yet again by ascribing Lance's problems to growing up poor. Oh, it's understandable he would want to do like drugs and feel like he was fake and like work way too hard to succeed in Silicon Valley and become artificial and forget morals. Well, he grew up poor. It would have been different if he was a nice little perfect white and delightsome bourgeois suburbanite, a nice little waspy, and even better, Mormon. Although, like, I suspect pretty much all of her characters are intended as like unwritten Mormons with all the Mormon references and living in Utah. Number 170. The book ends with Dr. Fraud bragging about helping a 14-year-old girl, Laurie. Oh, that's yet another very dated name on a 90s teenager who was abused by both her blood family and foster parents. And speaking of the names, getting back to it, like she used the name Dory 2 books in a row, as I mentioned previously. Find a new name. Time to turn the toxic positivity and magical thinking, like the Mormonism, onto another teen. You know she was getting off so hard on writing herself as this miracle working superwoman who could do no wrong. Oh boy, this book, it makes me so freaking angry. I am so glad I'm finally done choking it down. I only have to write a blog post and do a video with a full synopsis and review, and of course I will make liberal use of this book when I'm writing my blog posts, probably multiple posts and the multiple videos for Mental Health May, talking about like everything we know, like all the reasons we know this crank was not a real psychologist, because she just demonstrates complete lack of understanding of psychology, like over and over and over again, as well as like cognitive development and how the typical teenager like acts and thinks and speaks, and just so many other things. Like this woman makes me rage, and thank God I only have one more book of hers voices left to read and like thoroughly like trash and a whole bunch more of videos and blog posts. So thank you guys very much for watching all the way through to the end. Please consider leaving me a comment and subscribing if you haven't already, and I will see you guys again very soon with like another video. Maybe it won't be a Beatrice Sparks video. I'm trying to vary it up a little bit. So thanks again for watching. Bye.